Are we live? Oh, we're live! Oh, welcome! Welcome, everybody, to another LinkedIn, Facebook, where else are we? YouTube live. Yes, it's becoming quite the mouthful. A little bit like my maiden name. Welcome to, I'll put that on silent. God, how many times have you done this and you still haven't learned to put your phone on silent? Welcome. If you are just joining us for the first time and you're not sure what you're here for, well, we're going to have a bit of a chat about customer, employee, and human experience. I like to call it the joy of sex. But more specifically, we're going to be talking about what you need to do, the 3 basic things that you need to do if you are a business owner and you want to start to consider introducing a new service or product into the offerings of your business. Now, backtrack one step. If you don't know who I am Aileen Day. I am the owner of Meraki Business Solutions and the Value Driven brand, and now aileenday.com.au. Hilariously, when I watched this back last week to respond to the comments, I realized that LinkedIn has now got a new feature, and a friend of mine actually told me about it, and I hadn't seen it until now. And in this feature, they do automatic subtitles. So if you're watching this from LinkedIn as I speak, it is attempting to do on-the-spot subtitles, which is hilarious and mostly inaccurate, despite the fact that I speak quite slowly and reasonably clearly, right? So it's quite funny. But when I mentioned my website last week, aileenday.com.au, it came up as Alien Day, which is what kids used to call me in primary school. So thanks, LinkedIn. Feeling a little bit triggered. I think you need to work on the accuracy of your subtitles. I might even try to figure out how to turn them off, because they actually ended up being a bigger distraction than a help. So that, my friends, is a really great segue into today's discussion. So, as we were just mentioning, that subtitle, that automatic subtitling service or offer, or product, I guess, is a new product for LinkedIn Live and or from LinkedIn. And I guess if you're a business owner and you are doing what you should be doing, which is creating innovation and helping your customers find new and unique ways to continue wanting to shop with you, then I want you to consider these few very basic tips on what you can do to help make sure that your customer, your employee, and the human experience that you deliver in your brand when you create these new innovations, these new products and services, that you help yourself mitigate them falling to pieces. And it's all very well, I have regularly people come to me at least every week saying, oh my God, I've got a great idea. I'm going to put this in my business. And I feel like shit, because ultimately what I end up doing is I ask some really simple questions back at them and they can't answer them. So these flash in the pan ideas, they have the potential to grow legs, but the reality is that unless you're going to put some, I guess, forethought and consideration into them, if you were to just get this brainiac idea and then roll it out into your business, the reality is that you're probably setting yourself up for quite the failure. And look, that's fine, because there's nothing wrong with failing as long as you learn from the experience, but generally we don't. So here's what I want you to take into consideration the next time you wake up or you're in the shower, or you're sitting on the loo, and you think to yourself, oh my God, I've just realized how I'm going to become filthy rich. I've got the best idea. Let's go do it. So the first thing, and there's nothing wrong with becoming filthy rich as well. Oh, viewers, hi, Paul. Viewers can turn captions off manually if they want by pressing the CC, but some of it is funny. Well, you know, when LinkedIn's calling you an alien, I guess it's pretty humorous. How did they know? I did have to have a laugh. I wasn't actually triggered. I just, it did bring back some fond memories of all those people who think they're so original calling me alien. They're like, ha ha ha. I'm like, yeah, I've never heard that before. You're the first one. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. The very first thing I want you to do after you've had your brain snap of an idea. I want you to sit down and take a deep breath, and maybe a few deep breaths, and I want you to do some homework. So it's really important that you research a few things. Very firstly, what is your product or service going to fix? Number one. Because it's all very well and good for you to wake up and believe that you've found the perfect idea to make you a multimillionaire. But the reality is that unless you're actually solving something for another person or people or whatever the case might be, a demographic of some sort, you're not going to get $1, let alone $1 million. So I want you to document what is it that your product is going to solve? What is your solution for this group of people, right? If it's a service, so for example, I have just launched a few weeks ago my virtual customer experience mentor service offer, and it's a 12-month retainer service. So that basically means, you know, a business retains me for 12 months, and for 12 months I am their virtual or hybrid, depending on what part of the service they choose, virtual customer experience mentor. And I know that by delivering that service, who my customers are, right? So I've gone and researched who my customers are. I implicitly understand their pain points and the issues and challenges that those particular customers are having. And I implicitly understand what I can deliver within that service. So I want you to consider, what is your products or services main point to fix? What are you going to fix with it, right? What gap in the market are you producing? The gap in the market that I'm producing is that scaling businesses don't have the potential bandwidth in their salaries or remuneration to pay for a customer experience manager or general manager. So I provide those strategies and solutions to, say, for example, the general manager, who then takes my advice and mentoring and then disseminates that themselves through the business, always making sure that by the time that they have done the activities that have been prescribed to them, that they do grow their business to a point where they can afford their very own customer experience manager, right? And then what happens is I now understand the solution I'm providing. I now understand the pain point that I am working to close the gap on for businesses, specific businesses that are scaling, right? So you can see I've done some homework. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to figure out Who are your competitors? Now, this is an interesting, also could be flipped on its ass head, which way you want to do it, concept, because I don't personally believe in competition. I believe that there is forever the opportunity for collaboration, and that even if you were, like if we take, for example, the main street of my suburb, for example, there are probably like 8 different cafes, 10 different cafes in the stretch of about 150 meters. Now, the reality is that those cafes could all look at each other like they're competition, or those cafes could ascertain what is the gap in the market and how can I create a solution towards filling it, and therefore becoming a unique differentiator to the cafe 3 doors up from them, right? They could also look at each other like they are potential collaboration partners. So, for example, one of those cafes is a bakery. The other cafes might go, you know what, rather than treating that bakery / cafe like a competitor and shutting my doors to any potential opportunities, I'm going to open my doors and say, hey, you're the local baker. We'd love to supply your bread, right? And also, from a customer experience, you're also supporting local, right? So you're not going to, we know we love the supermarket convenience, but you're not going to, a massive retailer. You're keeping it in-house, you're keeping it small, and you're keeping it local. So from a customer's experience, that's really great. Customers love that whole concept of eat local. And they also need you to support other small businesses and not just yourself, right? Because there's no main street precinct if everybody just looks after themselves, right? I don't want one cafe. I like having the choice. But if you as a business don't look at the other retailers or businesses around you as potential collaborators as opposed to competitors, then you might just shut yourself off to some really unique partnering opportunities. In my business, for example, there's actually not a lot of people that do what I do, which is good in a sense, but it's also bad. It's bad. It's kind of lonely, because it basically means that there's not enough people around to look after all the businesses who need our help. And the reality is that I love, like, just a perfect example the other week, doesn't matter, not important story, as people would say to me constantly. I got contacted by a customer service specialist. So I specialize in customer experience and employee experience, and she specializes in that element of customer service, right? And she contacted me, and we were discussing one of her clients' needs around customer experience, and I got so excited, because although part of I guess what we were talking about was that she would be just as necessary to that job as I would be, some people might look at that and go, I don't want to hand off that money to her. Me, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. There's somebody else that's excited about customer service and how that infiltrates the experience. And oh my God, I've got all these ideas for partnering up with her, and this is going to be amazing. What an opportunity to build a new relationship with somebody who loves what I love. And if you are a business who has competitors, maybe if you looked at them like they're just another group of people who love what you love, then your field of perception around the opportunities that are available to you might just change as well. So I want you to consider not so much your competitors as far as locking yourself down to not let them see what you're doing. Let them see what you're doing. Let them know that you are the leader in your industry. Let them know that you got this shit locked down, in the sense that you know exactly what you want to do, who you want to do it for, when and how you want to do it, and the most important thing, why you want to do it. Because that then helps them go, hey, we've got to pull our socks up and do some cool shit too. And it's this, we talked about it the other week, this Pygmalion effect of, bringing everybody around you up to a new level because they don't want to be left behind. And how amazing would business in this country be if everybody went, oh, they're doing cool stuff. I better go get myself some cool stuff too, right? Customer experience in this country, man, I'd be out of a job. And that'd be okay, as long as I was sipping Mai Tais in the Bahamas. Yeah, I can dream. So I want you to think about who is doing what you want to do. And if nobody is doing it, like, for example, I couldn't find anybody offering a virtual customer experience mentor service in anywhere in Australia, at least in Australia. There is very similar type stuff happening in the US, where customer experience is certainly more further along in business concepts and operations than it probably is here in Australia. But no one was really doing what I was planning to do. But then what that then leads me to figure out is, who can I collaborate with? So, for example, Monique, who is this customer service specialist and leader and helps businesses, deliver impeccable customer service offers, I now have the opportunity to look at her and think, right, is there a joint venture that could happen between Monique and I, whereby she delivers her service packages, as in customer service packages, and I deliver my customer experience packages. Together we work on building brands around Australia, right? And, they say two heads are better than one. So why not consider who is it in your industry, or even outside of your industry, that you could potentially collaborate with to support and strengthen that product or service that you want to bring into your brand. The third thing, and it was interesting, I was just talking to a colleague of mine, Michelle Vogranek, the other day, and some of you might know who Michelle is. I interviewed her on the podcast, the Value Driven Brand podcast. She is also the original founder of Gaia Baby, and now she helps businesses get into the fast FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods market with their new products. And she was chatting to me the other day, and she was saying it's blowing her mind at how little people know their numbers, right? And it's so important when you want to deliver a new product or a service into your business to know your numbers. And look, truth be told, this is certainly not my strength. I'm not a big fan of numbers as long as I'm making enough numbers to pay my bills. That was my attitude towards knowing my numbers. But now, as a business owner, as a business leader, I have different expenses. I have things that I need to know how much I'm going to spend, how much I'm planning to make, how am I going to make that much money, And how long do I need to make that much money for to get a return on that investment? Is it even worthwhile doing in the first place? I was talking to, I forget who it was. Sorry if you're watching. I was talking to somebody the other day and they had a business idea and they did go and run their numbers and they figured that they were going to run at a loss. But they were still happy to do it because the value that it added to their brand exceeded in the long run. They justified it somehow, but they at least knew what they were in for, right? If you don't run your numbers, so that is clearly understanding, and I have Paul watching. Paul does numbers way better than I do, but that is at least understanding what are your expenses going to be with your product or service. What's your price point? What are you going to be selling it for? What's your revenue going to look like? And the revenue is your sales that you expect to come in. And then understanding what is your profit. So your profit is knowing the number after you have figured out your expenses and your revenue, right? Then helping yourself to figure out, is that actually a viable product or service to bring in to your business? Now, the other thing is, if it's a product, you also need to take into consideration even more stuff, right? So your expenses could be made up of what's called COGS, so cost of goods sold. You might have to take into consideration potential stock turns, which means how many times does the stock turn over before you have to reorder it? Is it going to sit on the shelf for X amount of time, therefore costing you money? Like, there is a few other things that you probably need to take into consideration or should want to take into consideration if you're talking about a product. And if you are talking about a product, I certainly recommend that you speak to either a qualified accountant or somebody who has a really in-depth understanding of all of those pieces of information. So, if you're around, Michelle, say hi, and you can get in touch with Michelle. I certainly know after the mammoth success that she's had with her brand, that she certainly knows what's going on. But knowing your numbers is imperative. It's a bit of a headache. I had to go and rerun a bunch of numbers the other day, and my head hurt so bad that I went for a nap. That's the blessing of running your own business. You can go have a nap. Shouldn't admit that on live broadcast. But I did. I was exhausted. I'd rather speak to 1,000 people than go run my numbers. I know it's not sexy, but the reality is, when we talk about sex, as in the customer and the employee and the human experience, if you don't know your numbers, you could potentially be setting yourself up for a few different things. You might ultimately put your product or service into play, and if you didn't run your numbers, you might not have budgeted properly. Therefore, you're undoing all of your hard work in setting up this product or service. You might not have the cash flow to support the expenses. You might not have understood the pieces that go into producing what you thought was this $1 million brainiac idea, and then ultimately have to wash it all away. So I don't want that for you. And if you follow these 3 very simple tips, so doing your research and understanding what is the problem that you are going to solve, what is the gap that you are going to fill, and number 2, who can you collaborate with to strengthen that product or service instead of worrying about your competitors. I mean, it's good to know. One of my clients just introduced a new facial package into her beautician's business, and I said to her, who else is delivering this type of facial package? And because it comes with a very serious investment of particular equipment. And she said, oh, I don't know. I said, well, I suggest you find out. And it's only because it is better to know what is happening around your industry, but that's not to say that then once you've found out, you covertly go into business in that area, right? Just know, just be aware of what's happening around you. Very simple. But then also it might be a case of you get in touch with that business and say, hey, I'm doing a similar thing, but if I get too busy, can I offload customers to you? And they'll go, oh yeah, like great, we could do the same thing. And I know you're all sitting there pissing yourselves laughing, going, as if that'll ever happen. But you don't know until you try. It's called collaboration, right? Working together, right? That's the last thing I do. Just check it. So the third thing is run your numbers. Do the math. And I hate math. I didn't even do math in year 12. So you can imagine how unsexy math is to me. That's why I have friends who do math around me instead. But please, either do it yourself or get somebody to do it with you. Not for you, with you. Because it is your business, it is your responsibility, and you need to know your numbers. Not have somebody go, oh, somebody knows my numbers for me. That's not owning a business, right? That is not owning a business, right? Even Kerwin Ray, multimillionaire, still checks his own books, right? Yes, he has someone doing them for him, but he still checks them himself because he is the business owner. It is his responsibility to make sure that the buck stops with him. So please take accountability for what is yours and do those 3 things before you go and put something into place that you might have to gently shove under a rug and pretend never happened because you didn't do these 3 very basic things. So, hello, LinkedIn user. Hello, friend. Sometimes if we're not connected on LinkedIn, it just comes up saying LinkedIn user. So I don't know who it is until I go back and I watch the broadcast and I can see on my mobile who it is. So I'm sorry I can't see who it is, but hi. So those are my 3 things I want you to take into consideration. Actually, don't just take them into consideration, just get them done, okay? Because you're the boss and I believe in you. Now, that is it for me today. I won't be around on Sunday. This is becoming a little bit of a thing. I might have to change the days out of Sunday. Tell me what other day you want to have this happen apart from Wednesday. Sundays are starting to become quite problematic, but it is Easter this Sunday, and I am so lucky. I have my yaya and my grandpa and my auntie and my cousin all coming over from Adelaide. So I can't wait to catch up with them. And that means I'll be out for the day, sipping wine and eating food and hanging with my homies. So we'll be back next Wednesday. And if you have any other insights around what you think works when you want to produce a new product or service, please feel free to add them in the comments so that we can all learn the best ways to make sure that we build ourselves up for success and not that failure. Okay, so that's it for me today. Please get out there, deliver value for somebody else in your life, because what goes around comes around. I'm Aileen Day. I'll catch you next week. Bye.